This is Heinrich from the Geeks, Gadgets, and Guns podcast. You're listening to one of the shows on the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can find all the other shows at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, the slayer of non-threats, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear. This is a podcast about the men and women who compete in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. Now, I've been attending IDPA matches since 2011, and over the years, I've met some really amazing people thanks to this sport. Ignore all the colorful jerseys and the sponsor logos, and underneath you're going to find everyday men and women who volunteer their time and their effort and spend their hard-earned dollars on travel, match fees, and gear to make this sport great. And today you're going to meet another one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor. You've heard me and some of the guests on the show talk about the benefits of dry fire. It's the easiest, most inexpensive way to get better as a shooter. But it's got some drawbacks, one of those being that it can be boring, quite frankly. So one thing you can do is use a laser bullet. But if you use a laser bullet by itself, once the dot's gone, it's gone. So you have that tendency to try to peek over your sights and look at the dot on the target. But now you can use the iTarget Pro system. It gives you instant feedback and lets you see exactly where you're hitting. Just place your phone in this iTarget sled, point the camera at the target. The app then monitors your target for hits from the laser bullet and maps them on the screen, showing you exactly where you shot. It's really cool. No more peeking at your target to see where you hit. Just watch your sights like you normally would. Let the app do the rest. iTarget Pro is available for Android and Apple phones. Laser bullets are available in all of the popular pistol calibers, 9mm, 45, 40 Smith & Wesson, 38 Special, P. There's even a version that you can use with your favorite .223 or .556 caliber rifle. iTarget Pro offers you a safe and effective dry fire training tool that will make your training fun again. Check it out at itargetpro.com. Our special guest today is Ron Herbert from Bozeman, Montana. Ron, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I've been looking forward to this.
Well, tell us a little about yourself. You're on the road. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. What do you do for a living in Bozeman?
I oversee the operations of 18 nursing homes across Wyoming, Montana, and Nevada.
Holy cow! That keeps you hopping, I guess.
There's never a downtime. Yeah, it definitely cuts into my shooting abilities. So.
Are you a native of Montana?
No, actually, I'm a native of Baltimore. Yeah, and then I moved to Atlanta, owned and operated 10 nursing homes in Atlanta, and sold them and retired, and then got bored, and somehow I ended up in Bozeman as an adventure. But I if the right opportunity comes up, I'll be back in Atlanta in a heartbeat. So it was negative 17 the other day. So.
Oh my goodness. Growing up in Baltimore, where did the interest in guns come from? Was that something that, did you have guns in the house growing up? Did you learn it from your parents, or is it something that you found as you got older?
It was something I found as I got older. So in Baltimore, where we probably should have had guns, we didn't. And it was after I moved to Atlanta. My son was dating a young lady, and her sister shot IDPA and shot for Glock and for Smith & Wesson, and got him involved. And he was, I guess, 16 or something like that. And he's now since married this young lady, and but he got me into it. And so we went and we bought a couple handguns, and we started shooting a local indoor match in Roswell, Georgia. And I got hooked.
It doesn't take long.
No.
What was that first experience like? Do you remember the first local match that you went to?
Yeah, I did. I was a nervous wreck, because I hadn't done a lot of pistol shooting prior. And I had an uncanny knack for shooting the non-threats multiple times. So I was really, really good at those, and I shot way too fast, but I missed really fast. So I think it helped. Mm-hmm. And I was just, I got some guidance and some direction from some of the local shooters and the match director, and just kind of slowed things down and got a little better.
So your introduction to guns was actually IDPA.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's really neat. Yeah. After that first experience, how long was it before you stepped out and tried a sanctioned match?
I think it was about a year. So shooting in Georgia, I shot the Georgia, they had monthly matches, which were pretty complex, a lot of movers, uncomfortable positions, challenging stages. And so you shot those. And I think it was my first sanctioned match might have been Alabama. An Alabama match. I was like, I got to do every sanctioned match I can get to, and then one of the other guys who traveled with somebody else, he was like, I need somebody to ride with me, and so he just drove with me, and he and I were match directors for the indoor match in Roswell, Georgia. After one of the other guys stepped down, and just kind of went from there. And
very cool. So how many matches were when you were living in Georgia, how many matches were you getting to a year? I mean, it's a pretty good area for IDPA.
Yeah, I'd have to go and look, but it was 10, 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
very nice.
So we were shooting 2 indoor matches a week, and at least 3 outdoor matches, one of them being sanctioned a month, in addition to the indoor.
Yeah. So now, how long have you been in Montana?
3 years.
Give us an idea what the aside from being 17 below, what the what's the IDPA scene in Montana like?
I think there's only 2 clubs. I have one of them. So there's my monthly match in Bozeman, and then I think there's a brand new one just started in Hamilton, which is about 3.5 hours west of me.
Okay.
I haven't been out there yet, but I just heard about it. There was one kind of in between the two of us, but they've since gone a different direction.
Well, give us a shout out for your home club. Tell us about where you shoot and what kind of matches you hold and how often.
Okay, it's called Montana IDPA, so MT IDPA, and we shoot out of the Manhattan Wildlife Range in Logan, which is about 20 minutes west of Bozeman proper. Excuse me. And we have monthly matches that start in April and run through November, weather permitting. So we get about, between 18 and 25 shooters come out, and but it's picking up. And I've been doing it for 2 years. When I moved out there was no IDPA in Montana. It was one of those things that when I talked to Joyce and to Robert Ray, I said, I'm going to start something. I just have to do it after shooting as much as I did in Georgia, and so they were very helpful and
very cool. So we've talked to a number of match directors. We've never talked to somebody who actually built a club from the ground up. Talk about that process and what it was like to try to build an IDPA club that now has a decent following in just a couple of short years.
Well, I was blessed. So they had a Montana Defensive Pistol Association that was affiliated and then unaffiliated with IDPA. And the problem was nobody wanted to run it. Nobody wanted to design stages. Nobody wanted to administer the match itself and kind of be the point person. And I thought if we're going to do this, somebody's got to do it. So I just stepped up and I went and talked to the board. But it was nice. I mean, they have all the equipment. They've got steels, swingers, drop turners, target stands, walls, props. So it's a very well-funded club with a lot of equipment that's at our disposal. So it was a little bit different than, starting fresh without,
Right.
and having to go and raise money to buy target stands and targets. I mean, these guys just, when the target changed, one of the board members just went and bought cases of targets and just had them on stock. I didn't even have to ask for it. So they've been really great that way.
So it was just a matter of having somebody who was willing to take the reins, and once you did, then the shooters were more than happy to come out.
They come out, yeah. The gamers come out, and then there's just guys that just want to come shoot and turn money into noise, and that's obviously safety's first, but having fun is second. And we've got a good group of people that come out at 7:00 in the morning with snow on the ground and help set up the stages and tear them all down and put stuff away at the end of the match, and they're just happy that somebody designs stages and challenges them a little bit, and gets the scores out to them pretty fast. So
talk about your philosophy in designing stages a little bit. What kind of stages? How do you approach the design of a stage, and what kind of stages do you like to put on? For each of your matches.
So I like to have a combination. I like to stretch them out because we have some bays that'll push out to 50 yards. So we're pretty fortunate that way. And I like to mix them up with some burn them down fast stages, and some that you have to stretch them out and slow things down and just get great sight pictures. And I like to challenge them with tight shooting lanes and maybe some awkward shooting positions. And then throw some standards in just to keep it from getting too much fun. So,
right, we can't have that.
No. So that's what I do. Occasionally, I start off each season. I start off with relatively basic, straightforward stages, and then as the months progress, they get harder and they get more. And there's other options. So there's options on how to shoot it, and there's risk rewards, and that's how I like to kind of go about it. The beauty that I have is, I can design stages, but I also have access to a giant library from our indoor matches that are easily converted to outdoor stages.
Okay.
So, depending upon what my week's like, or the couple weeks leading up to a match, it might be Friday night. I go into the library and pull out stuff, and then look to make sure that we haven't shot it the month before, or trying to keep things fresh.
Well, tell us about that. This is an interesting idea. You were talking about kind of keeping things basic early on at the beginning of the year, and then getting progressively more difficult. Is that because in general, you guys with the weather have a long downtime, and so you're just kind of warming people up and then getting them back into shape?
Exactly. And I always have a warm-up stage as the number one, just to get the kind of the trigger finger working again.
Right.
Because some of these guys, this is they shoot once a month. We just got an indoor range, but before they had like an indoor range with a pulley system for targets, and was only like 15 yards deep. So, and it wasn't open very much. So there really wasn't a lot of opportunity for people to go and shoot, other than just going out on public property and shooting at cans and those type of things. So for as progressive as Montana is with guns and shooting and welcoming and embracing all of it, there just really wasn't a lot of places for it to happen. That's what I said. Right. I try and, keep things relatively simple, maybe get stuff a little closer, in that 10 yards or less range, and really kind of go through the basics of,
fewer non-threats.
Yeah, maybe fewer non-threats, maybe space them a little bit, not so that they're not always right in there, not throw a swinging non-threat out there right at the get-go, not do a one presentation drop turner, with a big transition from the steel. It's that kind of stuff in the beginning, but then I'll start to stretch it out a little bit more, and then push our standards out. We do quite a few at 35 yards and 40 yards and that kind of stuff, just to slow some of the gamers down a little bit. So
Right.
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So
What is your favorite division? What gun are you competing with most often?
I started out with a a Glock 34, and I rapidly learned that I couldn't see the holes in the target. Even though you're supposed to trust your sights, I had to look. And so I converted to CDP. And once I got to a 1911 trigger, I've never looked back. And I shoot a Dan Wesson 1911 that I bought off a guy who was a single stack USPSA champion. And then he went and started shooting for, I don't know, somebody else, HK maybe.
Gotcha. So and the 45 holes make it a lot easier to see for the older eyes.
It's a half inch. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can see that. So
yeah, maybe I need to try that. Talk about some of the sanctioned matches that you've shot since you moved to Montana. What's the range like there? What are the opportunities like?
okay, so we don't have any sanctioned matches in Montana themselves,
Right.
and it's a goal of mine. It just it's a matter of building up safety officers and building up staff to be able to do it, and that's monumental. And so that'll be something that I go probably start to interact with the guys in Hamilton to see if they're interested in partnering to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the closest sanctioned match I've shot is Idaho Falls. So I did the Idaho State match. I did the Utah State match. I did the inaugural Colorado match last year, which was phenomenal. So those are the close kind of local drivable. Grand Junction was about 10 hours of driving, but it's driving Montana time, so it's not so bad. It's that's like a 4-cigar trip. So
There you go.
and then I did some matches in Texas and Louisiana and then nationals. So that was my program or my list of matches last year.
From all the sanctioned matches over the years, any memories of interesting stages, funny occurrences, things that went completely wrong or went totally right for you in a match that's one or two memories that stick out?
Well, I think the subway stage at, I guess it was Nationals, one of the first Nationals I ever shot, that stood out where you had an out and back target that presented like for a second or two, and you had to put 3 rounds on it. I just kind of hit the activator after I indexed on a barrel and just pulled the trigger as fast as I could. I didn't get any hits. And that was a Rick Lund stage, although I don't know if he'll own up to it just quite yet. And then 2015 Worlds, I had been shooting an awful lot in 2015. A lot of sanctioned matches, a lot of practice. We brought Scott Warren of Warren Tactical down, and he did a 2-day training for us with our shooting team. Yeah, and I won my division in Worlds, or my classification. I won CDP Marksman.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's awesome. That's where I got my match bump. So I just peaked at the right time, and that was a lot of fun. So every one of those stages in that match, I absolutely loved. They were fast, burn them down, a lot of movement, a lot of choices, and those are what I like.
So talk about what you personally like. You talked earlier about how you design your matches, but what as a shooter do you like to see? Do you like to see that variety, or is there something in particular, like you were just talking about the speed? Is there a particular kind of stage that you like yourself as a shooter?
I like the up close and personal burn them down stages. I like some that have some quick movement, because for as big of a guy as I am, it catches them off guard that I can move quick. But I think those days may be past now. So I think I'm going fast, but I probably look like I'm running in molasses, but it feels quick. So that's all that really matters in my mind. So there was a stage at Nationals where you had to climb up a ladder and shoot. I think there was 4 targets, and it was 3 on each. And
this year, or was that at Texas? I remember.
It was in Texas.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, Ken and Kitty were the SOs for that, and I shoot in a kilt. So, I
have seen you then.
So I got my leg up on like the third rung, and I'm sure Kitty's making some comment in the background. And so I hoisted myself up, drew, and I shot it in under 10 seconds. So I was like super excited coming off of there because it was a sub round count with a reload. And so those are the fun ones for me. On the other hand, we had at Utah, we had a limited stage that pushed out to 49.5 yards. And it was, and it started there was 2 targets at 10, 2 at 20, 1 at 30, 1 at 40, and 1 at 49.5. And
that's cruel.
But it was one of those things that I refer to them as speed traps, right? So you burn up the 10s, you slow down a little bit for the 20s, you slow down more for the 30s, the 40s, and then the 49.5 yards so that nobody would protest it or pace it off or,
right.
All, range lawyer on us. That one I just kind of exhaled and just pressed, and I got both of my hits. So I was down 0 on that target, which was amazing.
Wow.
And I think I was maybe down 3 or 4 for the stage. So I think that with the 1 second per point down now, it's kind of slowed some people down that needed to slow down, and I'm included in that. And I've noticed that my points down over a big match have gone down, because I was definitely under the belief of down 1 at a half a second, it doesn't matter. I'm not making it up. Now I'm thinking about making it up.
Yeah, the old rule you could outrun your bad shooting, and now you just can't. And I agree. I saw my points down in big matches drop dramatically because I took more time and made sure I got my hits and made up shots. Yeah. So with all the travel you're doing for work and with sort of the limited availability of sanctioned matches and no sanctioned matches yet in the state of Montana, what are your goals short term and long term, both as a shooter and as a match director?
As a match director, I want to build up my local match. I'd like to get 30, 40 shooters, and I think that we can do that just through word of mouth and having a presence in the indoor range where we've got a lot more people who are shooting, are doing pistol shooting there. And I've already started talking to the owner of it. And so that's one of my goals is to build up. Long term is, as I build up, is to grow safety officers so that we can put on a sanctioned match. The range that I shoot at, and I belong to the outdoor range as well, is I could probably do a tier 2 there without too much problem. There's enough bays, there's enough distance, there's enough equipment, but it's just a matter of getting staff and getting worker bees. And that's what they told me I would have the biggest trouble with. And I really haven't seen that. They said, well, no one will ever, the USPSA guys, no one will ever come out. We have to set everything up ourselves. And I was, okay, well, we'll see. And I always have, 10 guys show up and help set up. So that's been nice. As a shooter, I want to stay competitive, and I'd love a match bump to expert, but I probably have a better chance of getting a classifier bump to expert than a match bump with the young guns out there.
Right.
So
running circles around us.
Oh, I shot with Austin Perlow, and that's like, good God. And
yeah, so, you just stand and stare at Austin and Walt, and
absolutely.
As we kind of wind things down, give us an idea of why this sport hooked you and has hooked you for all these years. What is it you still love about this sport? What are you passionate? Why you're passionate about it through moving from Baltimore and then to Atlanta and shooting there and taking on responsibilities as a match director and then starting up a club in Montana. You've dedicated quite a bit of effort to this. What is it? Why is that? And what is it about this sport that's so great in your opinion?
I think it boils down to the people, right? I had a great introduction with some great match directors and some great fellow shooters, and was taught by just how to do things the right way by some really great people. And then when you start to travel and you see other great things, and you meet more people, and I can't walk into Texas. Everybody knows me because I wear the kilt and I got the cigars, and I bump into Yancey and we trade cigars, but I think it's the camaraderie, and you might see people once or twice a year, but it's like you've been seeing them every week. And then when you have the opportunity, like I had the opportunity to meet Joyce and John Sayles and folks like that, you go, wow, these are really good people. And I think it's just that they're just salt of the earth, and that's what I enjoy about it. So I like pushing, I like chasing some of the better shooters. I shoot on a team, and there's 10 of us, and we all push each other. We talk trash. We bust each other's chops. But at the end of the day, I think that anybody would do anything for us, for each other.
Right.
I've had people lend me stuff. You get something breaks. I've had a fiber optic break, and somebody goes, "I got one in my bag."
Right.
I had a young guy who was shooting one of his first sanctioned matches was nationals. That wasn't his first sanction, and he rolled in with a gun and he started having problems. And I happened to have 2 backups with me, and I just lent him one of my guns. I lent him a Wilson Combat, but it's that kind of stuff. And I'm not just saying, just for kudos. I just think that's the culture, and that's the kind of the culture of the shooting group. And when you go to a stage and you're shooting with Morgan Allen in your squad, and he's telling you, and he's giving you some stage breakdown strategy. He didn't know me,
right?
Adam, right? But he's more than willing to do that, and that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy and I look up to and I try and emulate. And I know with my shooters, if there's some tricky stages as we get into the June, July, August, I'll start adding some more complexity, and they'll come to me like, "Will you shoot it first?" And I go, "Sure, I'll shoot first to every stage. I don't care. When my monthly matches, it doesn't matter to me." Or I'll shoot it in a different way, and I might just really make them start to think about how the stage briefing is read, how it's written, and how it's read, and it's a little gamer action, but I've learned it from other guys on how to do things, and so that's what I like to pass along. And really, it's all about being safe and having fun. That's my takeaway from IDPA. It's just a great group of people, and the ones that are the range lawyers are the ones that are few and far between, and I just kind of let them be like water off a duck's back.
Yep, you got to.
Yeah, you could actually go crazy if you don't, but that's kind of how I see things. So.
Well, Ron, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I appreciate you taking the time on your trip there, and I look forward to seeing you at a Texas match down the road. I'll look for the kilt and the cigars.
Kilt and the cigars, Mumford Coldwater. That's who we are. The Mumford Coldwater shooting team.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank our guest for coming on the show and our sponsors for making all of this possible. Take a moment, if you would, to check out the website, check out our show notes at unloadpodcast.com. We've got lots of interviews with more amazing guests like the one you heard today. Join our Facebook group at unloadpodcast.com/Facebook for all the latest updates and to connect with other fans of the show. And if you'd like to support the show, we sure would appreciate it. Consider becoming a patron at unloadpodcast.com/extra. I've got some full-length interviews and special content available there exclusively for patrons as well. And if you know somebody or you yourself would make an interesting guest for a future episode of Unload and Show Clear, please contact me at lloyd@unloadpodcast.com or click on the contact page on the website and send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Tune in again next time for another episode of Unload and Show Clear.